They're eyeing former Blackhawks coach Joel Quenneville as his replacement. Elsewhere, the Sabres have fired Phil Housley. Get all of your scores on the NBC Sports Scores app. I'm Scott Seidenberg, NBC Sports Radio.
NBC News Radio, I'm Phil Hewlett. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow says the nation's economy is doing well under President Trump. On CNN's State of the Union, Kudlow pointed to last month's good jobs report as evidence the economy is on the right track. A worker at the Coachella Festival has died. The unidentified man fell 60 feet to his death while setting up the stage. He was the lead rigger for the festival and had been there 20 years. Police in Lubbock, Texas had to fire tear gas to disperse Texas Tech students who flooded the streets and turned to vandalism to celebrate their school's victory in the Final Four. Texas Tech plays Virginia in the NCAA championship game on Monday. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will receive the 2019 Profile and Courage Award from the John F. Kennedy Library Foundation. The organization is recognizing her for her efforts to expand access to health care and leading the effort for Democrats to retake the majority in the House. Phil Hewlett, NBC News Radio.
Don't miss the Plains of Fame Air Show May 4th and 5th at Chino Airport. Fun for the whole family. Enjoy watching aviation history take to the skies over Chino. See famous planes and demonstration teams like the F-16 Piper demo and Heritage Flight, Sanders Sea Fury, the Tumbling Bear, and Eric Tucker. Over 50 historic aircraft will be performing for your enjoyment, including the P-47 Thunderbolts and P-51 Mustangs. There'll be military vehicles, a veteran panel, kids zone, and a vendor marketplace where you'll find plenty of food and beverages. Gates open Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. Parking is free. Tickets, $25. Kids 11 and under are free. Spend the day at the Plains of Fame Air Show Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th in Chino. For tickets and info, go to plainsoffame.org. That's plainsoffame.org. plainsoffame.org.
Welcome to the Tom Hartman Program. I'm live right here, Monday through Friday.
Are you ready for the #1 progressive talk show host in America?
71% of people say that the information they get from their friends and family, they take more seriously than the stuff they read in the media. Only 42% of Americans think the media is the most credible source of news. And therefore, if you're informed, if you're awake, you need to be telling your friends. You need to be talking to your friends and family.
24-time New York Times best-selling author and has nearly 6.5 million listeners nationwide.
These are crimes. These are international crimes against humanity. And I would love to see somebody held to account in this administration.
Introducing Tom Hartman on KCAA Radio, weekday afternoons starting at 2.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the Mall with a Heart. KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocrites. All I want is the truth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Only Show here on KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. We're back with a new episode of the Truth Only Show, and we would like to invite you to go to truthonlyshow.com, which is currently down, but will be back up within the day or probably tomorrow, the next day, but that's truthonlyshow.com regardless, and you can email us at truthonlyshow@gmail.com if you want to ask us any questions or get in contact with us. But now here's the host of the Truth Only Show, David Rodriguez.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you here with us today again on another show of a Truth Only Show where we deliver you nothing but the truth. And we're talking about, the truth that we're talking about is the truth about you and every single one of you that's listening to the show. So I think it's the most important thing that you can learn. You've heard the saying, know the truth and the truth shall make you free. And that is a truth. It is true. Once you know about yourself, how your life responds to the way you think, you will be amazed at how much you can do, how much you can accomplish in this life. So anyway, thank you very much for being with us. And before we get started, I want to thank those that make this show possible. Of course, you listeners out there. And I want to give special thanks to our engineer, Nick. Thank you very much, Nick. And our webmaster, Mr. Joel Strouser. And my co-host and producer, who you just heard, was Michael. Thank you very much, all of you. Now, just to give you a little idea as to what we teach and what we talk about here on the show, excuse me, is human nature. Human nature we believe to be the most important thing that you can know about yourself. Now, this show isn't about opinions. We're not going to give you any opinions or what we think about you or this or that. No, we're going to give you the truth about your true nature. Now, it's the truth about you. And this is all this is about, learning to understand the power that you have. Even though you've had it all your life, you have always had this power, and you have the exact same amount as anyone else. There is no such thing that one person is more intelligent than another. And we're going to make that point to you today. I'm sure you will understand. We're going to give you very simple ideas, very simple concepts, that if you can take this and really take it seriously and think about it, I'm sure you're going to be able to bring about changes that you're going to be amazed. Let's put it that way. You're going to be amazed at how you've been living and how you can live. That's really what's going to happen today. But you must pay close attention. I'm going to try to take this as slow and easy as I can because I don't want to lose anyone, okay? Our topic today is intelligence, okay? Intelligence, but I don't want to present it in the way that most of us have always we've been given this idea. We've all had this concept about intelligence, that in other words, you can measure intelligence this way or that way. Some people, you take these intelligence tests and see this person has a higher IQ and this, that. Forget all that, okay? Forget all the ideas and concepts that you've had about intelligence. Try to look at it this way, okay? Now, everything, and I mean everything that you're thinking about is intelligence. Everything. And I mean it. And it doesn't matter what it is that you're thinking about or how you're using it. It is all intelligence. Okay? Now, this is the most important point that you can understand from what we're going to talk about today, is that everything that exists is created by intelligence. What I mean by that is this. Whatever you are thinking about, the types of thoughts that you think on a daily basis, they will match perfectly what you're experiencing in your outer world. Let me give you an example. If you're living with limited things in your life, and I mean limited, let's put this, and hey, you know what? And before we go any further, forget about good or bad or any of that stuff. Just forget about it. Just follow what I'm going to try to say. Whatever it is that you're thinking about, again, as I said, let's say limited thinking, your exterior world is going to match. What I mean by that is, if you're thinking limited financial thoughts, like in other words, oh, these things are too expensive, and I only make this amount of money, and I've been living this way, and I didn't go to school, so I don't have a great career. If you're thinking those ways, you are most likely experiencing very limited things. Let's say maybe can't afford to buy a house. Maybe you're driving an old car, a used car. So think about the types of things you think, and think about the types of things that you have. And if you think about it seriously, and I don't mean every once in a while say, oh, you dream about having a big mansion and a Rolls Royce. I don't mean that you think about, I'm talking about what you think about on a daily basis. That is what you are experiencing. That is how you are using your intelligence. Now, again, all thoughts are intelligence. Everything you're thinking is intelligence. And I'm not talking about, again, how smart you are. Because everything you think is your use of intelligence. And everybody is exactly the same. We all have the same amount of intelligence. And I know that many of you out there are going to say, no, that's not true. Well, it's because you haven't really thought about it. You might have been thinking, oh, that guy's more intelligent. He makes a lot of money. He's got a big house and a big car. He's a doctor. No. The only reason he has whatever that he has is because that's what he thinks about on a daily basis. You must understand that point. It's what you think about on a daily basis. Now, here, look at it this way. Think about it this way. I'm going to give you different examples how you can think about it, and you will see this makes total sense because this is the truth. Think about somebody that you know. Think about their lives and what they experience is different than yours. Think about what you think about on a daily basis and see what you have or what you don't have. Now think about the other person, what they have or their accomplishments, and think about how they think. And you will see that everybody's living exactly at I don't want to say at the level because we're all at whatever level we're thinking that's where we are. I want to say it this way. They appear to be living, let's say somebody you know appears to be living much better than you. If they appear to be living better than you, it's only because they think a little higher thoughts than you. That's all. There's nothing else going on here. The reason is, while you're thinking, whatever you're thinking about, you are creating. It's that simple. Now, you have freedom. You can change the level of your thoughts, change to greater things. But I'm talking about a daily basis. Just change the greater things. Begin to think greater possibilities, but constantly. Don't look back anymore. Constantly. Keep looking forward, and you will see in time that things begin to change. It's going to be a very slight change in the beginning, but as long as you keep I don't know if I want to say increasing or changing or seeing more potential or seeing greater things in your mind, eventually you will be experiencing them. Now, let me tell you, let me give you a concept maybe you've never thought about, because that's what we're going to do. That's what we want to do. We want to get you to think. Okay? You can't see life. I'm going to repeat that because you maybe have never heard that before. You cannot see life. The only thing you can see are the effects of life. What I mean by that is this. What gives life, the power, the energy that gives life, that moves your body, that grows the trees, you can't see that power. That's life. You only see the effect. You only see the physical things. That's all. You see the movement, but it's not the physical thing that's moving itself. It's the life behind it that you cannot see is what is moving it. And what is moving it is thought. I know you might think that's a concept that might be too far out. It's not. It's not. Going back to repeat what I said earlier. The types of physical things that you have in your life match perfectly by the types of thoughts you think. Actually, if we could go and take a picture of your exterior world, the things you have in your exterior world, the types of things you have, and if we could go inside your mind and take a picture of what is going on in your mind, you would be amazed how identical they are. They match perfectly. And the reason I say that you cannot see life is because you only see the effects, which is the physical world. The whole entire physical world are only effects. That's all. They're only effects of thought. They are real, of course. Your body is for real. That table or chair or that phone that you have in your hand, whatever, they're only effects of what somebody thought. That's all they are. They're effects. On their own, they can do nothing. You know that? On the physical things in this world cannot do anything on their own. They need that life, that power that moves them to move them, to change them, to get them to respond. It takes that power that I said you cannot see to move them. And it's thought that moves everything. Here's another thing you cannot see. You can't see love. There's no way. You can't see it. The only thing you see are the effects of love. That's all. The effect. The actual love, you can't see it. It's an invisible thing. Same as thoughts. You can't see thoughts. Thoughts are part of that life world that I'm talking about that you can't see. The thought is life. The thought is what gives life to everything in your life. All the decisions that you have made throughout your life are responsible for where you are living right now at this moment. Think about it. It is your thoughts. You're responsible. It's your thoughts that you have thought or you've decided, your decisions you have made all your life, regardless of whether you let others influence you. And quickly, I'm going to say, way too many of us are letting others influence us and do our thinking for us. It is time that we start thinking for ourselves. There's way, way, way too much of that going on in this world, allowing others to do our thinking for us. Way too much. Now, get this concept, and I mean really get this concept and think about it. What I said earlier, that the physical world are only effects. All the effects that you have in your life, all the physical things, are due to the life that's behind them, which is your thought. You give life to the physical world. You draw it to you. You draw the things that match the way you think to you. It's actually pretty simple. somebody that has a big mansion and drives them big cars and spends those millions of dollars, the only reason they do that is because that's the types of thoughts that they think on a daily basis. And if you don't believe it, if you don't live that way, how often do you think that way on a daily basis about big cars and huge bank accounts? Do you think that on a daily basis? I'd be willing to bet 100% that you don't. That's the only difference it makes us. So going back to what I said, intelligence, it's every thought is intelligence. Everything that we think is intelligence. That's all. And like I said earlier, you have freedom. You have freedom to make a decision and say, from now on, I'm not going to think limited thoughts. From now on, I'm going to start thinking possibilities on a daily basis. Possibilities, greater things on a daily basis. And I don't mean once in a while. I'm talking about on the daily basis like you've been doing in the past, but change it now. On a daily basis, think about greater things for yourself. See yourself already living something greater, something that's greater for you, because what may be greater for you might not be greater for me or greater for the next person. It's whatever is great for you. Begin to just think it on a daily basis, because you are always be making something. And you cannot stop making something all the time. You can't. It's impossible to stop creating something all the time. The reason I say it's impossible, because if you want to take a test, test yourself. See how long you can sit there and not think a thought. Try it. See how long you last. Not think anything. Possible. So if it's impossible to stop thinking and stop creating something, why not start making the life that you want? All you have to do is continue to think it. Think about it. That's pretty incredible. I mean, it's incredible, but it's the truth. It's the whole, nothing but the truth about yourself. That's why, we started the show, I said, know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You want more peace? Think it. You want more love? Think it. You want more joy? Think it. You want more happiness? Think it. You want more abundance? Think it. Continue to think it on a daily basis. You will begin to produce whatever you choose to think about. And that's the truth, the whole truth about you. That's it. Intelligence. That is your nature. Your nature is you are free to think what you want. Your nature is you are free to create and live the life that you want to live. That is your nature. And guess what? You can't change it. There's not a thing you can do about changing it. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to change your nature. That's impossible, because you are made that way. That's it. So isn't it better to understand your true nature and begin to experience the life that you want? I don't see anything greater than that. That is the greatest thing that you can learn about yourself. Greater than anything that there is, anything that exists. That's why we believe the show is so important. Begin to understand the truth about yourself and tell others. Tell all those that are around you, so they can begin to experience a greater life. All of you can. Everybody can. It's all about knowing the truth. So right now, we're going to take a little short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We're going to have a discussion on this topic. And I want to remind you, listening to KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, here on the Truth Only Show, where you can find us at truthonlyshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Carmencita se fue de viaje y quizás no
right, everyone, welcome back to the Truth Only Show. That song that you just heard is by a band called Enanitos Verdes, called Amores Lejanos. And that
Which
was
means what?
It means distant lovers,
Oh,
long distance relationship, basically, right? Yeah, we thought we'd just change it up here and play some Spanish music. Why not?
Yeah.
So your talk today was about intelligence.
Yeah.
But you had a little bit of a different definition of intelligence.
Well, yeah, because it's a different way to look at it, but it's the truth about it. Intelligence is just anything you're thinking. You're using intelligence, in other words, just to think. And it don't matter what it is, whether it's good or bad, you're using intelligence to think. So forget this concept that this person's more intelligent. Forget that. That's so false. It's hard to believe that we're still in 2019 still thinking with those old thoughts that don't work. Because whatever you're thinking, you're creating. Let's put it that way. Whether it's something that's not good or whether it's something great, it's whatever you think about is you're creating with intelligence.
I actually looked up the definition of intelligence. I actually found it pretty interesting. It's not exactly what I expected it to say.
Okay.
It says intelligence, the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So it's not actually how much you have, it's the ability to acquire and apply.
And we all have the ability to acquire, just exactly what I was saying.
It's not any sort of measurement
It's
at
no
all. It's the
measurement,
ability to acquire and apply it.
Right. That's the whole.
So it's not about how much you have.
No.
It's how you use it and how much you find it.
Right. And because we all have the same intelligence. We don't have anything different. There's intelligence exists in this universe, and we are part of it. So we just use it. That's all. We just use it, and however you choose to use it is what you experience. That's exactly what that description said, right?
Yeah.
So
that was interesting. I'm not what I expected. Another thing that you talked about, you were talking about how you can't see what's actually driving life.
No, you can't see life itself.
That's what you call life itself, yeah.
Life is the driving force that moves everything. That is life. What makes the tree grow? What makes the leaves right now? Right where I study every day is there's some nice, big, beautiful trees. The leaves are starting to grow. They're barely coming out right now because it's that time of the year. You can't see the life that is making those leaves grow. You can't see it. You can't see the life that makes your body move.
No.
You can't see it. We only see the effect of life, that's all. But the life itself you can't see. Same thing, like I said, with love. You can't see love. You only see the effects.
Yeah.
That's it. So.
And those effects, in terms of our life, it's caused by our thought.
Right. So, you know what? The more I've been learning about the truth about ourselves, the more and more I learn, change your focus on what you think about daily, and your life changes. I mean, it really changes. Thing gets better and better all the time if you're thinking better thoughts. That's all. Just think better thoughts, and because you're always making something. Always. You can't stop. Period. So.
And you're talking about now, if you want to change things, is to start thinking about them daily.
Daily, all the time. Forget the old, forget the past, forget what you did in the past, forget all that stuff. Just think. I think next week maybe this is going to be the topic. History is a little overrated. I know that it's necessary. Okay, don't get me wrong, but it's overrated. Okay, way overrated history.
I guess we'll talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that next week.
So now you're talking about, somebody had a question from one of our listeners, a listener by the name of Christina.
Okay.
She said, what advice, going off of today's topic, what advice would you give to somebody seeking a promotion?
seeking a promotion, believe me, this. Well, I can tell you what a disaster is.
What?
A disaster is trying to analyze and figure it out how to get promotion. It's a disaster as far as I'm concerned. It's a disaster because it can work. It's like a 50-50 shot. It can work, and it might work, you know. Yeah. But why should we live by can or it might work? Why should we live that way? It's like gambling. It's like a gamble. Why would we gamble? I'm going to analyze and figure it out when there's a way that it's 100% foolproof, which is to see yourself in that position. See, you know, I think some people have trouble seeing themselves, but you can eventually see yourself in that position and know in your mind that you have that position. Like if you already have that position, just keep seeing it in your mind and go to work, get serious about what you're doing, and just work hard at what you do. Be good at just work at being good at what you do. That's it. But see yourself where you want to be. You will be there one day. Or if you're not there, like I have advised others, if you don't get to that position, you know why? Because there's something greater waiting for you. Now, think about it. How can you go wrong if you don't get the promotion you want, but there's something greater than that? As long as you can see that and you know, hey, I didn't get that, but there's something greater waiting for you, something greater will come as long as you keep your mind set on that.
And that's something that actually just came up recently in my life, because for people that have been listening would know that I play in a band, right? Yeah. And I had a guitar player, and now I don't have a guitar player. So now we're a band without a guitar player. So I thought that, well, I might as well try to pick it up.
And how's that working out?
And
you saw yourself playing guitar. How's that working out?
It's working out pretty good.
Because you went to work, right?
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time on it.
How's it going? Pretty good?
But I think the reason why that you're saying something better is because he left and we were in need of one. Yeah. Now I have, I'm developing a whole new skill that I never had before.
Right.
And if he had stayed, I probably would have never even done that.
Just confirming the point that I just made. Exactly. Something better. So as long as you see something better will come. Isn't that better for you?
Yeah, it's because it's just going to make me a better musician.
No, let's just go real quickly over you.
And and then at first sight, it sounds like a bad thing that he let,
Well, you could have.
We're down a member. It could have led it turn into a bad thing.
You could have, right?
Yeah.
If you all looked at it, so that's a bad thing. Now we got to go through all this. But what did you say? You just said, there's something better. I'll just learn to play myself.
Yeah.
Now you can actually go and play in a little time. I don't know, depending on you, how proficient you want to be.
I'm getting close to being ready for the stage.
So now you can get back up there with the same guys, except for the guitar player. Now you can get up there yourself and fill in and do it now. So you haven't been held back. So something better came from it, didn't it?
Yeah.
But there's something I want to ask you, though.
But, before you get to that, but it's kind of how fast it picked up, and it, obviously I've had a lot of experience playing music in general, so you didn't have to learn any of that stuff, so that kind of helped everything. But it kind of inspired me. It was like, man, if I could pick up guitar this fast, granted I already kind of played a little bit, I was like, man, I need to buy a saxophone. I think I'm going to start playing sax next.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Tell the list, because I know, and anybody out there is listening, they know very well, people that know you. Mm-hmm. You're proficient in what? Name all the instruments. You're already proficient. You're not an amateur at it. You're professional at what? How many
keyboard.
You play
keyboard and bass.
You play keyboard and bass, right?
Yeah, and then I would say I could probably play rhythm guitar before this.
Rhythm guitar, and now you're
I'm trying to lead guitar. Yeah.
So now,
and when I'm playing it, it's actually, it feels really, really good just to be not clumsy at it anymore, and it feels like you're accomplishing something.
Yeah.
So it's satisfying, and that's again something that would have never happened probably if things had been different.
And what's the only thing that can stop that from happening? You.
Me not doing it.
You. That's you.
But I've been
beginning to doubt. No doubt. Never. No doubt. I love the name of that band. No doubt.
Oh yeah,
perfect. No
good
doubt.
Band too. And I think there's one thing that I've been really picking up from doing it. Is that practicing really small chunks of information. So you're practicing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, something really small, really short. You practice that over and over and over until you can start to not even pay attention that you're doing it, and then you're talking over it, and then you're having a conversation while you're doing it, and you're just playing it over and over and over, and then eventually you're able to play it really, really fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's just maybe just in something else that people could apply, is just taking maybe small steps,
right?
Focusing on smaller things.
Now, let's look at it. Let's analyze this a little bit. In the beginning, when you started piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see it as an impossibility, right? You just kept going, right? And I know that in the beginning it felt impossible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can even remember that. I know it felt impossible for you, but you didn't let it become impossible. You just kept going. Then all of a sudden it became a possibility, right? Because you stayed focused on a daily basis, right?
You feel clumsy. You
Right.
feel very clumsy.
Right. Well, because you are in the beginning. But then you advanced. After that, you saw yourself into bass, right? Playing the bass.
Yeah.
Right? And then you advanced from that. You did that for a long time because you saw that it was possible. And then you advanced to bass on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You advanced to bass and keyboard at the same time, right? And now you're advancing. Everything's a possibility, right? As long as you stay focused on a daily basis, it all becomes possible, right? So now, let's take it a step further.
Get the sax? Is that what you're saying?
No. No, I'm talking about stadiums, packing them.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there's any difference with that?
No.
There's no difference. As long as you can see it on a daily basis, what will begin to happen, as you're already beginning to see all the possibilities where you can play, all the places you can play now with the different groups that you're becoming more and more in demand. Isn't that the whole process, what we're talking about here, just playing itself out? So what has to happen for you to increase your drawing potential is all thinking about it. Just think about it on a daily basis, and you'll be drawing more and more people to you all the time.
Yeah. I think there's
it.
with everything, and I think maybe some things are a little bit more mysterious than others, but there's a series of things that you can do to be prepared for it. And if you don't do those things, those series of things to be prepared for the possibility of something good happening, then when the opportunity comes along, you're not going to be ready for it.
Yeah, but you're preparing yourself.
Well, that's exactly what I'm getting to.
Right.
Like, of course, when the guitar player leaving, we had to figure out a new strategy. But I mean, that's just something else that okay, now that we're maybe getting it more figured out, it's like, okay, well, let's go back to preparing for the opportunity for whenever it happens to come.
Okay, now I have a question for you. So if there's any musicians out there listening, how many nights a week now are you playing?
Like 3.
3 nights a week, almost
4 this week.
Sometimes 4 in a week. For all you musicians that are out there that may be listening, think about it. 2, 3, 4 nights a week, almost every weekend, every week. That's quite a bit, because I was a musician myself, and I know there's a lot of guys out there that aren't playing that much. You're playing a lot now, right?
Yeah.
So that can increase even if you want. It's all up to you. It's all in thought. Keep thinking it, and you can throw in more and more all the time. That's all up to you. Everything's up to everybody that's listening to us. It's all up to you. Shall we take a little break?
Yeah, we'll take another quick break here. Maybe we'll cut the song in half, maybe. But let's go to break. You're listening to Truth Only Show.
here at 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Truth Only Show. That song was called Flaca by Andres Calamaro. He's not from Mexico. He's from Spain.
Uh-huh.
And actually, the last band is from Argentina, so you're hearing music from all around the world today.
Well, that's good. Open up our minds a little bit more.
Yeah. Speaking of that, another thing that I've been learning, and I think this is something that maybe to talk to people about not getting discouraged when trying something new. Another thing I've been trying to learn is Spanish.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking at, I've been working on it for a while, but I've been working on it a lot recently. And one thing I've been, you look at these words and you're trying to read them and you're struggling with pronouncing them correctly.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I was like, this is really, it's really hard. And I figured, and then now that I've been doing it for a while, I'm starting to see a lot of words that I've read before. Mm-hmm. So they're way easier to say. Like they just come out real easy. Yeah. And I said, man, no wonder, I don't know why I was questioning why it's so difficult for me is because I have never said that word ever in my life. It's literally the first time I'm saying that word, and it's in a different language. So obviously it's going to be difficult for me. And now that I actually have a little bit of a a little bit of a catalog of words I've said, the words that I said, when those come up, I'm like, oh, that's easy. I know that one. You know what I mean? And it just shows like, oh, you can get discouraged in the beginning, but if you do it long enough, eventually that will go away and you'll start to feel encouraged by your progress.
Well, as adults, why it appears to be more difficult. Well, I guess you could say it is because we've already developed all kinds of distractions. We have a job, we have this, we have another language, we have bills we got to pay, we have all these things.
And you spent so many years not doing it.
Right. Think about a child, though.
Yeah.
A child growing up, he can learn 10 languages. You know why? The reason he can is because he's not distracted. He just pays attention to what you're saying. He just copies it. He never thinks too difficult.
Yeah.
Doesn't think.
The thought of, but I've been speaking English for so long.
He has no past.
Because it hasn't.
he doesn't have a past. See, that's our problem as adults. We look in the past. Well, I never did it before. In the past, I've never done it. See, a child has no past. He can't look back. And what's he look back at? He got nothing to look at.
Yeah.
So he just looks forward and just says, I can do it. And he doesn't even say I can do it. He just listens and copies. That's all.
Yeah.
He copies and just absorbs it all. And you can teach him 2, 3, 4 languages, and he'll learn them without a problem.
It's pretty incredible.
So,
and it almost seems like sorry, but it almost seems like a missed opportunity when you have kids. I mean, just try to shove as much as you can.
Well, they can do a lot.
I mean, there's amazing kids that are online that are better musicians than probably I'll ever be because they're just.
Well, they have no distractions.
I don't know what they did.
They have no distractions.
They did it though.
That's another whole show I think we could do on that because that subject gets more complicated than that than just the child looking at.
But it's amazing though.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, I've always thought about things like this. Why we're getting off the topic now, but I've thought about things like why is it some people come into this life and they're so good at something already, or else they already know what they want in life and they pursue it their entire lives. How many of us do that? Yeah. There's people in their 20s and 30s and 40s and still don't know what they're going to do. Still trying to figure out what they're doing. Yet others come into this life. I give an example like Oscar De La Hoya, for example. Yeah. He started boxing at 5, and his whole career, his whole life, he's in his 40s now, his whole career has been boxing. One aspect of it or not. First, he became an amateur boxer. Then he became a professional. Then he a gold medal winner. Then a world champion several times over. And then right after that, he straight right into promoting. Why does somebody decide so early what they want to do and follow it all their lives? How many of us do that? No, but why did that happen? That's
a question.
That's a question in itself.
We'll talk about it on another show.
Right.
Teasers are dropping so many.
Right. Right. We're going to drop. I already forgot what the first time I said we're going to talk about next week. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. History. And
history is overrated. It is. Important, but overrated.
So now when you're saying now people are looking at and they're thinking like their surroundings.
Yeah.
And is that enough, though, just to start thinking about something else? Or like...
That's a necessity. It has to happen.
Has to happen.
Yeah. So
is it enough?
If you understand the physical world are only effects of what you've been thinking, okay? Yeah. That is the most important thing that people can understand. What you have in the physical world are only effects of what you've been thinking. So if you can understand that concept, you want different things in life, you got to think them. It doesn't work the other way around. That's backwards. If you think, oh, I'm going to be happy when I have that big car. You better think you have that big car. Then
the car's not going to make you happy.
And the car's not going to make you happy. You have to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
And then make the car. That's it. That's the way it works. Thought first, That's actually what metaphysics is. People think metaphysics is something mysterious and occult and all that other stuff. That's a whole bunch of nonsense. Metaphysics is very simple. You think first, the thought first, and then you create the physical. Mm-hmm. The thought first before the physical.
And it really
That's
doesn't
all
mean
metaphysics
really
is.
doesn't mean that much at all. It's
it's
just really as simple. You just focus on something and you work to get it.
That's metaphysics. That's
but
they
don't do themselves any favors by calling it metaphysics. They're trying to make it sound too fancy.
Yeah, well, I mean, physics, metaphysics, but that's all it is. It's nothing mysterious, nothing weird, nothing occult, none of that. Mm-hmm. It's just a very simple thing. It's not.
So do you still have things that... And we have a couple minutes. What do you still have things that you're focusing on daily?
Oh yes,
yes.
Things that I don't know if it's okay to be talk. I have different opinions. I got mixed feelings about whether I should talk about what I'm working on, but it is what I know that I'm working is coming true.
Yeah. Slowly
though. I mean, and I always go back to a tree. That tree, when you plant that seed and it starts to grow, you're not going to have all a big giant tree with apples in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months. You're not going to have it. But as long as you're patient and you keep your mind on it, one day you will have an apple tree with hundreds of apples with thousands of seeds. So it'll come back multiplied.
You can't see it grow either.
And you can't see it.
It just happens overnight.
It's just happening. It's the life that's making it happen. You can't you can't change the process. You can't change it. We can't change it.
So learn and use
Nobody can change the fact that you're always making something. You can't change that. That's what's so important to understand.
That is... And it's important that you come back next week and listen to the Truth Only Show. And before you do that, go to trutholnyshow.com, check out some of our previous episodes, and tell us what you think by emailing at trutholnyshow@gmail.com.
And remember, you're listening to David Paul Band. Check out davidpaulmusic.com and bellcityplayers.com, and check out for some fantastic nights of entertainment. See you next week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
The Sports Radio Update starts now.
Bottom of the sixth inning in Philly. The Phillies lead the Twins 2-1. Top of the seventh in Baltimore. Yankees on top of the Orioles 7-0. Bottom seven in Detroit. Tigers lead the Royals 3-1. Bottom six in Cleveland. The Indians a 3-0 lead over the Blue Jays. Bottom five in New York. Nationals on top of the Mets 7-1. Bottom six in Atlanta. Braves lead the Marlins 3-2. Bottom four in Pittsburgh. The Pirates and the Reds are tied at 3. Brewers lead the Cubs 3-0. Bottom of the third in Milwaukee. Top of the second in Houston. Nationals on top of the A's 5-4. Top of the third in Chicago. White Sox and Mariners are tied at 1. Padres a 1-0 lead over the Cardinals. Top of the third inning. One baseball game final from earlier. The Raptors defeated the Heat in overtime 117-109. College basketball news. Zion Williamson has been named your Naismith Player of the Year, joining Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis as the only other freshman to do so. Virginia advancing on late free throws last night. Texas Tech taking care of Michigan State, setting up tomorrow night's national championship game. Red Raider head coach Chris Beard on the Virginia Cavaliers.
I have a lot of respect for Virginia. I watch them on TV all the time, and we study the things they do defensively. I think their offense is really, really efficient and good, too. I think their offense is explosive, but it works together with its defense, and coach is first class. I don't know him that well, but everything I hear about him, he's like one of the best guys in the whole business.
Other coaching news, Nevada's Eric Musselman is finalizing a deal to become the new head coach at Arkansas. Minnesota's Richard Pitino gets a 2-year contract extension. Hockey news, the Panthers have fired head coach Bob Bugner after 2 seasons, and according to reports, they are hiring former Blackhawks coach Joel Quenneville as his replacement. This update is brought to you by Wrangler Outdoor. Pants and shirts made with durable fabrics, moisture management, and UPF 30 protection. Wrangler Outdoor, clothing with outdoor credibility and everyday versatility. Try them on today. Get all of your scores on the NBC Sports Scores app. I'm Scott Seidenberg.
For several years, KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.kcaateam.com, or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
Why are you listening to this radio station? Why? When you can host your own radio show. You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit.
Now here's word about a free homebuyer workshop on Wednesday, April 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Yucaipa Business Incubator Center. That's at 34282 Yucaipa Boulevard, corner of 5th Street and Yucaipa Boulevard. Dinner will be provided. There's
CAA.
Welcome to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. Each week on this program, Jeff and his guests share their expertise, personal anecdotes, and the latest industry news to keep you in the loop. Now, to provide you with insight and help you navigate the consistently changing world of real estate lending, here is your host for The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. And if you pick up the phone, if you have questions to ask, there's all kinds of things you need to know about your mortgage, about whether you want to get one, whether you have one now and you want to refinance. A lot of people refinancing. By the way, rates came back this week. They went up. They were down to the lowest place they'd been in a long, long time. For instance, last week, on the show, I said 3.75 to 4.125. That was your 30-year fix. Well, it is now all the way back up to 4%, 3.875 to 4.25%. So it's gone up almost a quarter to a half point in less than a week. Now, why has it done this? Well, there have been a lot of pressures on the mortgage interest rates, and the economy itself is doing some odd things. We've talked on the show many times about the reverse yield curve, which talks about usually what happens when the Treasury sells its bonds, right? A 30-year, a 10-year, 2-year, whatever. It usually goes in progression of the shortest bond will give the lowest yield, i.e. the 30-year should be paying you better than the 10, should be paying you better than the 2. So if the 10 starts to pay more than the 30, that's what they call an inverted yield curve, which means, obviously, that there's some issues. It's usually a tremendous indicator of recession. And so what we've been looking for and talking about this year, by the way, 2019, Daryl, first quarter, gone. What the heck?
it's called time compression or something. I mean, things are just flying by like
unbelievable,
nobody's business.
I don't understand how, but yeah, Q1 is gone. All the reporting mechanisms that click into place for every state and every federal and state agency that needs their pittance or their particular reporting, that kicked in, which always drives everybody in our business crazy. Compliance aside, this is reporting to the government.
And the pessimists will now say, take this quarter and multiply by 4, and that's what the year's going to turn out like.
Well, it's funny. So the economy is actually doing better in the first quarter than they anticipated, which is odd since we have this yield curve issue that we're talking about is a great prognosticator of the economy faltering or going into a recession. So we've got a couple of things going on in the marketplace, which is what really is affecting the interest rates. So if the interest rates today are at 4%, let's say you want a 30-year fixed and your broker or your banker or your mortgage banker quotes you a 4 to 4.5% rate, it's still a pretty good rate, right? I mean, historically, let's look at it honestly. As I've often said, 8.75 was my first interest rate back in 1990 something or other. So we're a long way from that. People have said, and you know, one thing also I want to ask Daryl about the way the top-down criticism of its own administration has affected the performance of anybody in the administration has always baffled me. Why would your boss point you out in public and say you're doing a horrible job and then expect you to go to work and be motivated to do the best you can be? How does that work?
Well, somebody in the current administration says I'm going to keep this job until I get fired on Twitter.
You know, I just... economically, it makes no sense to me.
I believe it was the chief of staff.
I'm sure it was. Which, the old one or the one?
The current one, yeah.
Yeah, and who is the current?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone, maybe that's the strategy. It's just to confuse people as to who's in charge. So really the only person you're ever going to listen to is Donald Trump, the president, which is fine if you like Trump. I like him for a lot of things, and I don't like him for many more things. However...
Hey, it's like hey, look over there, there's Batman.
Right, exactly, as he's stealing from your pocketbook. So a couple things going on in the marketplace that I think to be aware of. The economy, as we're talking about, the two different approaches, I guess, or looks at what's happening, whether it's the yield curve or whether it's the reports out that the economy actually did better than expected in Q1. We're probably looking this year at 2%, maybe 1.8 to 2%, kind of where the last 2 years of the Obama administration had that economic growth. It's going to be slower because obviously the tax cut, which I read was $1.2 or $1.3 trillion that was put into the economy because obviously that was not paid in taxes. That's a lot of dough right there, $1.3 trillion. You know, last year we only did about $1.5 trillion in mortgages total. So if you said that the amount of money that was given back in taxes or not taxed, i.e. put back into the economy because you got to spend that money. That's usually what consumers do. And companies, on the other hand, were either buying back shares or fixing plants or doing other things to aid in the growth or the long-term survival of their own companies. These economic forces in play in terms of what they're doing, yeah, it's not there this year. So therefore, the growth is not going to be there, and that's really what's happening. That and the tariffs or the three Mexicos. Did you see that particular gaffe?
I've missed that one.
Oh my!
Is New Mexico another Mexico now?
No, it was just somebody obviously screwed up. They meant to say the 3 Central American or 3 South American, but they said
the 3 Mexicos.
The 3 Mexican countries.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. You know, it happens so much. I have to laugh because anybody who looks at what went on last week in terms of both the Mueller report that came out, which, you know, everybody feels exonerated the president, which I'm glad. I don't want to go through another Watergate scenario where the president gets ripped up and the country gets halved and we elect Jimmy Carter. I don't need that, right? I mean, that's not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah, it's just, there were a couple of politicians, Democratic politicians, that said, the impeachment is just not worth it.
Yeah, that was Nancy Pelosi.
It's just not worth the time and the trouble at this point.
No, there's so many big problems that we got to deal with. One of them is that, if you have the current administration and you have people in the administration rowing the boat one way, and then the next day the president says, no, I don't want to do that. And he doesn't do it in closed doors and comes up with policies. He just says it on Twitter or says it out in public at a news conference, and you're like, oh, geez.
It's not like he goes through a sounding board of his
no, this
isn't
right. This is helter-skelter politics at its best, and when the leader is doing that, it's very, very difficult to be able to negotiate. So if you've got a combative person like that, and you're trying to wend your way through some impeachment process, which anybody out there who was through it, and I'm of age that we were, Daryl, you and I were around when that was happening.
Oh, absolutely. That memory of Nixon giving us the salute as he stepped onto the helicopter.
Absolutely right.
I'm out of here, pal.
Right, exactly. And even in the Clinton years when we went through that with Bill Clinton, I mean, that was such a mess, such a divisive thing. And I think this is a tremendous response to that. So what I'm saying is that the lacking the leadership, we need to focus on what's happening both in the economy and what's going forward with rates this year, and I believe that rates will probably stabilize around 4 to 4.25% for the remainder of the year. I was of a belief that we would see 5.5% by the end of the year, but since Fed has really stopped raising its prime rate, and it looks like the bond market is still in kind of a flux confusion, meaning that it's telling people it's going to be in a recession. I don't think the Fed's going to do anything, although Jerome Powell has been accused of leading a very flip-floppy, wish-washy, not knowing what they're doing kind of Fed, and I don't know if that's necessarily true, since the primary reason that the Federal Reserve and the Board of Governors exist is to curb inflation and to keep that under control, which they've done a tremendous job of. So if job number one is to do that, then job number two would be to set the interest rate, and in so doing, try to keep inflation where it is. Although the target rate of 2%, right, we want to see 2% inflation. Why? Because we want to see wages go up. We want to see prices stabilize, but we also want to see wages go up. And that is going to bring you inflation automatically. There were a couple of things I wanted to get to. We'll try in the next segment. But I appreciate everybody listening. KCAA, KMET, all our friends up at K Tahoe. We have a number of different listeners that call into the show, thanking us for the information that we bring. We have three great guests today. A guy from an escrow company named Matthew Schufelt, and Kim Soash from Homebridge, and Brian Rowley from Franklin American. First time we've had someone from Franklin American on. He's our new account executive over there. When I say he's our, I mean Malibu Funding, who's the sponsor for the show, NMLS 79620. Thanking them very much for sponsoring the show each and every week that we come on the air. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. And if you're watching on television right now and you're watching me, you'll notice that I was tapping my cell phone there. And a lot of the news shows, a lot of the live TV shows that are either financial, real estate, or otherwise business related, they're a bunch of people on those shows, always fiddling with their phone, screwing around with their computers, never really paying attention to what's going on until the light hits them and it's their turn to speak. I like the casual approach. I like the way it comes across as if you're all just sitting around and chewing the fat over the financial data and the financial analysis of what's going on. Very clued in and very easy to watch. The screaming, lecturing shows, I'm not so much a fan of. How about you, Daryl, on that one?
No, that's not my thing.
Yeah, I just, it's not for me.
Well, first of all, it's hyperbole for the most part. I mean, it's just people ranting about stuff. And,
right.
And, if somebody wants to realistically talk about something, even if I don't believe it, if they put the facts and figures and stack their argument together well, I will listen to that.
Right, exactly.
That's why I will listen to Bill O'Reilly.
I have, but he gets pontificating, and
but
I
he
just
doesn't
can't.
do it loud, and he doesn't, just really out and out insult people like other.
He used
others.
to.
Well,
he and he's on. What is he on? Blaze? Is that where he
he's
is?
doing a little 10 or 15 minute thing now. I think he's come back around. But, there's others that couldn't mention Ted Kennedy's name without going, look, 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 look.
I know. I hate that. And I don't know. Yeah. I think economically speaking, Lou Dobbs is the guy that drives me nuts because he's got such a political bent behind everything he says. And regardless of who you are, if you happen to have a D in front of your political affiliation, he doesn't matter what the idea is. It could be, cut taxes, I'm a Democrat, and this is where I'm from. And he said, that Democrat doesn't know what he's talking about. And I really don't like mixing business with politics because I think a lot of the decisions made should be made in the vacuum of what's best in an overall economy versus what's best for my particular party or belief.
Well, it depends on whether you're looking for facts, figures, and news or you're just looking for a drama show.
Exactly. I have a friend who's coming on next week, Randy Credico. I think I talked to you about him. He's one of the guys that was linked with Roger Stone and WikiLeaks and the information of the leaked emails, Hillary Clinton emails, to WikiLeaks. Whether he was involved or not is not that important, but he is a cog in the wheel and really is a very liberal-minded guy, a very anti-business, just BS, I guess. And so in talking about, I read one of his posts, and he was talking about Bill Maher, and I knew Bill way back in the day, Randy way back in the day, and that was going back way 30, 35 years ago. But he was saying that because Bill Maher took a political stance on a certain issue and gave some reason why, and I say, look, Bill Maher, like a lot of these people on television, and I wish I was one of these people because then I would be making a lot more money. However, they take the position that draws in the most people, whether it's a controversial political viewpoint, whether it's a combative political viewpoint. If the numbers are up on Nielsen that particular week, that's the position he's going to take the following week because it brings in more money. Now, I think he's not necessarily, I'm being cynical on that, but I think there's a large measure of that. And a lot of the business news channels have started to actually do that as well. I don't like it. I just want to hear I want to hear Wall Street Journal facts, not Wall Street Journal editorial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the term talk show has actually changed. I mean, we've got a couple of hosts here in Los Angeles that are on the air every day, and they take the opposite. They take the controversial opinion. But, they no longer take phone calls. It's not a two-way talk anymore. Right. It's just a couple of guys ranting and raging on the air every day.
Well, we too are like that. We take a lot of calls, but not on the air. And one of the reasons is that it's mostly technical and the date we record versus the date we air. However, I like talking to the people per se, but at the same time, I don't consider this necessarily a talk show. It's more like a business news show, which we try to get out mortgage information about what we're trying to do each and every week. You and I were talking off air about Facebook.
It's your birthday today.
Yes, it is. It's
happy
my
birthday.
Thank you very much.
I just had to push a button and it said happy birthday for me.
That's what I wanted to talk about. And just my particular rant on this subject. When it's your birthday, it's supposed to be your day, right? Now, I'm not a great needy guy. I don't need to be pampered and all that kind of stuff. I don't need a spa day or whatever it is that people do nowadays when they celebrate their birthdays. However, social media has made it incredibly easy for anybody, especially people you don't know. LinkedIn, Facebook come to mind, and it could be Snapchat, it could be Instagram, it could be 100 different websites that you belong to. Alignable, I don't know, there's many more. And not to mention that, but my own particular email account. I get the birthday greeting. We all know it. Hey, it's so-and-so's birthday today. Wish him a happy birthday. You click happy birthday. It takes you 5 seconds to read, 1 second to push a button. Well, okay, I happen to know a ton of people, and there are probably, 3,000 or 4,000 people in all my social media accounts who I don't have a clue who these people are. Yet, you get 150, 200 happy birthdays. Now my birthday's turned into this labor of hate. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know this person. But if you don't answer, and everybody out there knows what I'm talking about, the social media schism with if you don't do it, you're going to be skewered. So you better thank them for saying happy birthday to somebody they don't know in 2 seconds that they took. So yeah, it's turned into that. And for you, Daryl, same, right?
Yeah, Gary the Bomber Bomblicki said it best. I've got maybe 3 or 4 or 5 close friends, and the rest of the people are acquaintances.
Right.
Right? And it used to be on a birthday. If 4 or 5 people called, relatives and friends, that was a lot.
Right.
But with Facebook, it's thousands.
It's thousands.
I mean, thousands.
Right.
And,
right.
You always want to send each one of them a cute little note saying, I'm glad you acknowledged my birthday, blah, 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 blah. But at this point, I just see people sending a bulk answer.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, everyone, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because that's all you can do. You can't. It would take you 2 weeks.
It's impossible. Right. It's impossible.
And
so
especially, what do you say to people you don't know? Hey, I appreciate the sentiment.
Thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
That was about it. One click. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
So in all the social interaction that we do.
Now, what Facebook should do is give you the opportunity to say, so-and-so has wished you a happy birthday. Would you like to thank them? Push this button.
But now I got to read all that.
Yeah, automated response, right?
No, absolutely. And it makes everyone, what does it make everyone feel? I have no idea. I have so many friends that have told me, I don't do Facebook anymore. My wife doesn't do Facebook anymore. I go, well, what's the deal? You do it, you don't do it. You don't have to make a pronouncement. But I guess there's so many people who have been burned or gotten into these huge wars about it.
Snobs.
I just, I don't really take it seriously, never have. The whole thing about interaction online has always been about trying to promote me because I think it would help my business, right? Whether it is Facebook. And maybe that's a guy's approach to it. It doesn't necessarily have to get personal that much, other than here I am, this is what I do, go here to see me, this is kind of our small interaction. Occasionally I'll email or text somebody, but generally speaking, that's all it is.
The only advantage I really think is, I've probably hooked up with people that I haven't seen in a long, long time from high school or whatever, and that's nice. Or listeners from 3 or 4 stations ago, or people I used to work with sometimes, and on occasion having that reacquaintance is nice.
Yeah, I agree.
But beyond that, I don't take it seriously.
No, you can't. And occasionally what happens is my mood predicts how I'm going to be answering whatever I get online, right? So if I'm in a good mood, everything is rosy. Hey, things are great. You little pictures of dogs and flowers make you happy, and you answer those. But the people who have the political slant, who are constantly on you, and I got a lot of friends that are like that, left and right, doesn't matter. They're always just like, we're right, you're wrong, kind of like that. So if I'm in a bad mood, those are the people that are going to get a zinger. But I always try to place my zinger in terms of humor. So the other day we got one, and it was some political bent, and it was a long line of people, and the Smollett guy who got off, right, because he was rich. So I said, no, both lines would be people of color if you're going to look at who goes into the court system and who goes to jail. So that was my attempt at trying to, level the playing field, just say, yeah, maybe he did get some special treatment. But overall, most of the people who are incarcerated are people of color. They're not strictly even Steven, as the picture depicted, just white people standing in the go to jail line, and Smollett was getting out. And the caption read, because you were rich and famous, you get out. I said, no, that's not how it really is. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice. That's my silliness of the day. I appreciate you listening. We'll be right back. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We talk mortgages, we talk escrows, we talk real estate, we talk anything to do with you. It is spring buying season, and you know what that means. It means that the demand is going to go up. The housing availability is probably going to go down. Good thing right now is that the mortgage interest rates have remained pretty low, even though they took a spike a little bit this week. We still see a trend where I think, and I said in the earlier segment, we're probably going to see 4.25% to 4.5%, no more, for the rest of the year. The Fed has decided not to raise the short-term interest rates on what they control, and the inverted yield curve, as we talked about earlier segment, really indicates that we're probably going to go into some sort of recession. At least that's what it says according to historical analysis of what that yield curve means. Overall, what this probably means is that we're going to see interest rates stay pretty much where they are for the rest of the year, and that bodes well for a lot of things. Refinances, taking money out, all kinds of things. But one of the guests that we want to bring to the show today is Matthew Schufelt from Wilshire Escrow Company. Never been on the show, but I wanted to bring another escrow expert onto the show to talk a little bit about what they do and how they help in the transaction process. Matthew, how are you?
Doing fine, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Give us a brief overview of what you do, where your office is, and some of the clients that you serve.
Sure. So what I do is I'm an escrow officer, and my job is basically to act as a neutral third party that executes the contract between the buyer and seller in a sale of a home. So I'm not a lawyer, which people get confused about a lot.
Right.
So my job is basically just to carry out the terms of the contract and to prepare the necessary documents that need to be signed and filed, etc.
Well, you made that sound so simple, and I know darn well it isn't. Escrow is like the quarterback in this whole deal, right? I mean, where you're controlling all these different things going on at the same time while remaining calm and very steadfast through the process, right?
That's a pretty good analogy. If the quarterback could make the quarterback can only do what the parties instruct him to, basically.
Right,
So,
and those are escrow instructions,
mutual
right?
instructions.
Right, exactly. And those escrow instructions really are the permission that the seller give you, the escrow person, to carry out your duties.
Exactly. So the escrow instructions stipulate that for the seller, I'm authorized to get a payoff demand to pay off his existing loan or her existing loan, and to prepare the grant deed and have it signed. And from the buyer's side, it says that I'm authorized to work with their lender and to receive their money and hold it pending the completion of the transaction.
Now, when you are working at your job, do you get a lot of pressure from a buyer or seller at certain times during certain deals to do something that they want versus what the contract calls for them to do?
Sometimes, not too often. Usually people are not too difficult to deal with, but every once in a while, especially when there's lots more money involved with the higher purchase prices,
right,
people can get very, demanding.
Yes, they can. Do you have a quick story you might want to share with us? No names, of course, but maybe one of your more difficult deals that you're finding trying on both you and the office?
Oh, Lord.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but...
I mean, I do, but it would take way too long. But, I mean, a lot of them involve... One of the common problems that people run into sometimes that causes tension is when you pay off an old loan.
Yep.
Sometimes there's two steps. There's one, the action of you actually paying your lender. That satisfies the loan. But two, they have to take a second step to actually file a full reconveyance is what it's called.
Right.
And that's what actually gets rid of the document from title, showing that you no longer owe this loan.
Right.
And oftentimes lenders will forget to do that, and then 20, 30 years later, all of a sudden we're having to deal with tracking down who the successor trustee of whatever bank was in 1995.
Why? Okay, so that does tend to be a problem, right? Especially if that same person wants to go out and buy a different property or use their credit somehow, and this pops up.
Right. So basically, it kind of halts the transaction as far as closing the escrow. You can't really close until you deal with that in some way.
Well, how do you deal with it? You try to track people down, but what if they're out of business, and what if, a number of other things happen that it's just almost impossible? Is there any way to, because they did pay off their loan, there must be somebody that has that record.
There is. I mean, in theory, there would be, whoever succeeded that bank would have those records, but oftentimes they're succeeded 3 or 4 or 5 times over, and things get lost in translation. A fallback is they could get a bond. It's called they could purchase a bond for lost notes. And basically this bond company takes on that liability. Or if you get lucky and track somebody down, as I did get lucky this one time, and actually found this company and called them like 30 times over the course of 2 days and finally got through to somebody.
Okay.
I was able to get a reconveyance signed. And that costs nothing. That's the bond, which can be expensive.
Right. Well, that's good persistence. I know that that is probably the job description as an escrow officer is persistence.
Definitely. Persistence and patience.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you told me, and I forgot, where is it exactly? What cities did you work in?
We work, there's no limitations really on where we can work in the United States.
I see.
But primarily we work in Los Angeles County, and I've done escrows in San Diego, San Francisco area, and Florida sometimes.
Yeah, the show is broadcast out into the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, Riverside counties. I want to say hey to everybody out there. KCAA, KMET. We're up in Tahoe at K-Tahoe as well. And so the signal reaches all the way into East LA County and northern Orange County. So there's a lot of people out there that need good, honest escrow people, because the worst thing that can happen is if you have an escrow either surly or not responsive or just kind of disappears. I don't know if you've experienced any of that through stories you've heard, but out there it's a jungle. So
yeah, I have heard sometimes clients have a hard time reaching other escrow services that they've tried before. I try to make it a point to always pick up the phone, and that's something people have told me they don't get a lot of other places.
No, it's a rarity, especially, I don't know how old you are, but my generation loved the phone. And we kind of grew up with the phone. That was our technology of choice. And so for me to pick up the phone is so much easier than emailing. But if you get below a certain age, everybody either wants to email, text, or through some social media. What is your best form of communication with your clients, or do you let them decide?
I kind of let them decide. I typically use email, but I'm always here. I'm almost always at my desk, so people can always reach me when they need to.
Now, pricing. I know escrow has a different pricing for purchases, different pricing for refinances, and you do other services as well. How do you determine that, and is it negotiable?
So the rate is based off of the purchase price.
Okay.
Our standard rates, I think it's on our website, but it's $1.50 per thousand plus a $300 base fee.
Okay.
That's pretty standard.
That's very standard, yes.
I've seen companies go higher than that, and
so have
others go lower, but it's roughly median escrow cost.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the lowest I've seen recently is $125, but the highest I've seen is $225. So
I've seen that too.
Yeah, so and for everybody out there, that's per thousand, right? And isn't that how it's calculated?
Right.
Right.
So you take the purchase price. Let's say you were selling it for $500,000.
Right.
You would take 500 times 1.5 for the $1.50 per thousand rate.
Right.
And then add our base fee of $300.
Right, exactly, and that gets you your purchase price. So, and I assume that if there's hardship or some other needs, that there's negotiation available if, in fact, that's true.
My stance is basically don't let the fee get in the way of closing an escrow.
No, absolutely, and that's a good point. I mean, we're all in the same business, and I know how stressed out people can get for $5. I've seen it happen. I've seen, $10, $100 hold up a deal, and everybody helps get things closed at the end. If you had some words of advice for people getting into a transaction about choosing an escrow company, what would you give them now? We have about 30 seconds left.
I would definitely tell them, it's good to go off of somebody recommending you to an escrow company, somebody that's had a good experience with them. I find that's been pretty reliable way to deal with escrow companies. And, try calling your escrow officer and see how responsive he is and how you like dealing with him or her.
Hey, could you shout out your phone number now that we're here at the end of the show, just so that everybody has your number? If they're driving around, they can give you a call.
Sure. Phone number is 323-935-3530, extension 320.
Excellent. Matthew, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. That's Matthew Schufelt from Wilshire Escrow Company, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929 is the telephone number. If you save that number and you have a question about what you've heard on the show, or you just have any question about mortgages, about access to capital, getting money for some kind of loan, maybe you've got some student debt, but you want to get that purchase, you want to buy that house, and you're trying to figure out how to calculate all that, we can help. Look, give us a call, write down the number, call me later. I'll set you up. I'll make sure that all the questions are answered. Whether you use us or not, you can certainly ask us the questions. We're in a deal right now in Georgia just like that, where a person who called me the other day said, look, I need all these documents that you're sending me sent to me right now because I'm shopping you with somebody else. Now, in the business, we all laugh at that, going, well, why would I want to? Anyway, we sent them the information, and they were very happy, and they did eventually choose us to be their lender, so I'm pleased about that. Anyway, give us a call. I'm Jeff Barton. With us, once again, great person on the show, and I'm happy to do some additional business through Homebridge with Kim Soash, our account executive. Kim, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today? Thanks for having me on your show, Jeff.
Thank you very much. You know, it's my birthday today, right?
No, happy birthday. Oh, my goodness. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I had to sandbag you there a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay, so what's going on over at Homebridge? How are you reacting to either the state of the economy or the rates that have kind of stalled here? Looks like we went down a little bit. Now we've come up a little bit. What's happening over there, maybe product-wise, that you might be able to help share with our listeners?
Well, one of the things that I know rates have been it's just always a wild ride. We never know what's going to happen.
Never know, right.
We thought we were going to have a little maybe a resurgence of a refi boom there when the rates went down, and
right.
then they seemed like it was a teaser. So who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? Right, exactly.
Well, one of the most popular things that has been happening recently has been these non-QM sorts of products where borrowers can qualify in a non-traditional sort of way. So they can qualify either with bank statements, 12 or 24-month bank statements. One of the more popular things that we've been doing is something called investor cash flow, where borrowers that are buying investment properties can qualify almost virtually no doc. So we don't want bank statements. We don't want tax returns. The property is really qualifying on the cash flow of the rent that it collects. So as long as the rent is more than the mortgage and the taxes, insurance, and the homeowners association, as long as the rent covers that, as long as it's equal to or greater than those amounts, the borrower qualifies. So no debt ratio, no worrying about paying off debt to qualify, or sometimes these loans, you get to a place where the debt ratios are very, very tight, and people are trying to either pay things off or exclude them and say their companies are paying for them or what have you, and then this just really simplifies the whole process and makes it just almost a no-doc loan.
Is this a mortgage insurance type loan where the borrower has to get mortgage insurance?
No, they do not. No, they don't have to have mortgage insurance. They don't have to impound. Impounding is always an option. It's kind of a personal thing. Some people like to have impound, some don't, but none of those are required for this product.
And this is a general single-family 1 to 4 unit residential loan?
Absolutely. Yep. It has to be the investor cash flow has to be non-owner.
Non-owner, okay.
But it can be a single family or a condo or 1 to 4 units. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Bank statement programs can be owner-occupied, second home, or non-owner. But the investor cash flow is kind of nifty. And another thing that the product offers is doing non-warrantable condos. So sometimes it's tough to get a condo through if maybe the owner occupancy isn't 50% or greater on an owner-occupied transaction. So that's something that they'll consider. They have some leniency towards the amount of financed properties, so you can have up to 15 financed properties, which this can be challenging for investors sometimes.
Right. Hey, let me ask you a question on the amount of money that the rent brings in. Does there have to be an existing tenant? Is this some future rent that's going to be? Do you have to have a tenant in place? How does this work?
No, you don't have to have a tenant in place. It's based on current rent or market rent, the current lease or market rent, whichever is less. However, when borrowers are renting for under market rent, it is possible to
make up the difference.
To make up the difference, to use the market rent to qualify. There's a couple of caveats. You need to make sure that we have to validate what the market rent is through an appraisal rent survey, and then they would have to if they've been renting it currently under market rent, then they'd have to write a letter that says that when the lease expires, I'm going to raise the rent to the market rent level. And
I see.
That would be acceptable.
And the rate on this, how far different is it than your standard 30-year fixed rate loan that you were getting if you were owner occupied with good credit and 20% down? What's the difference in the rates?
It kind of depends. Borrowers that have, the better your credit is, the better your rate is going to be always. Okay. So it kind of depends if they are fairly low LTV, a loan to value, and good credit. Your pricing interest rate could be in the high 5s to low 6s. So 5.625, 5.875 to 6 and an 8.
Right.
It depends on what they've got going on. If it's low credit, high loan to value, high loan amount, cash out, then your rate's probably going to climb up to be more the higher 6s or low 7s.
It
just depends.
How much money do you need in the deal? 25%?
It'll do 80% loan to value on on the investor cash flow. It'll do 85% loan to value if you're doing bank statements.
This is a pretty good deal. I mean, you think about that for a second. You're really qualifying the property on the property, which sounds like a commercial deal, but this is getting the pricing of 1 to 4 residential, non-owner occ. That's completely different than a commercial deal.
And another thing that's nice about this product is the cash out aspect. If sometimes reserves are challenging, borrowers have trouble meeting reserve requirements, and on this product, the cash out can be used to satisfy your reserve requirement.
Oh, I see. So if you're taking money out of the property, so this would be strictly for the cash out. Obviously, you couldn't do this for the purchase.
Well, with the purchase, you couldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't have cash out to use to satisfy your reserves. But if you were doing a cash out scenario, then your cash out can be used to satisfy reserves.
Excellent.
And the reserve requirement actually for this investor also is lower than most. A lot of the places will require 3 to 6 months PITI of principal, interest, tax, and insurance, and then additional reserves for each additional finance properties can be 2 months or more. Where this is up to $1 million, only 3 months is required for the subject property and 1 month for each additional finance. So on a purchase, that reserve requirement is lower than almost any other product I'm aware of, and on a cash out, your cash out could be used to satisfy those reserves.
Hey, who pays for the rent survey?
Well, it would be part of your appraisal fees.
See.
So you'd have an appraisal fee for the value of the property, and then you would pay for an additional rent survey fee. So it would just be tacked on, it's another $150, I think, added on to your appraisal costs.
I see. Okay, so here we are in the spring. By the way, those are terrific programs. Anybody out there who is thinking about this, who's looking at a property in order to buy, to rent, this is a great program from a great company we've done business with for a long, long time. So give Kim a call. Kim, what is your phone number in case somebody does want to give you a call?
Oh, it's 818-970-4016.
Okay, that's Kim.
And I'm Kim Soash at Homebridge Wholesale, and just would love to talk to anyone about all the great aspects of this program. It's almost got too many cool features to list in a brief moment.
No, I agree. It's exciting because everybody I know wants residual income. Now they're saying, okay, is this the wrong time to buy? Is it the right time to buy? It's always the right time to buy when you have a tenant, when you have somebody paying the mortgage, i.e. building equity. Let's say the market even goes down. You're still going to have a tenant. You're still going to have somebody building equity for you long term. This is a long-term play normally, right?
Absolutely. And what I'm finding, Jeff, is this is an interesting niche in our market, and loan officers should reach out to their borrowers who are doing investment properties at all, asking, going back through, seeing who had investment properties listed, because this was something that typically I think they were they were getting financing here with hard money. I'm seeing a lot of refinances where they're getting out of horrible financing situations to get back in, like you alluded to earlier, back into a reasonable interest rate,
Right.
and have still have the no documentation feature that they had doing the commercial financing when you're qualifying on the cash flow of the property itself.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks, Kim. Thanks for coming on the show. Great to talk to you about the program. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks very much for coming
Thanks for
on.
having me, and happy birthday, my friend. I hope you have a great day.
Great. Thanks very much. That's Kim Soash from Homebridge. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We repeat that number every segment at the top and the bottom of the show. And the reason we do that is because in order for us to help you, you have to contact us. Now, I know there are generational issues here. Maybe people who are listening to the show in the radio driving around, they don't want to email or call, or they want to text, or they want to social media. I, Jeff Barton, am on everywhere. And so if you need to get in touch with me, smoke signals are also okay. You can do it. We're here to help you. We're not here to preach to you, or are we here to try to tell you how to do things? I'm not the answer to the solutions. The people out there who we bring to the show, they have the answers. I'm going to try to facilitate that by bringing new and exciting people to the show all the time. I went to LinkedIn, as I said in the last three shows, and began to search for good people who knew about real estate and were very interested in talking to you about what they do and how they might do it a little bit differently than somebody else. Along those lines is Clinton Brown from Keller Williams Westside Realty. Really appreciate him on the show. Clinton, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
And thank you very much. Again, this is the first conversation I've had with Clinton, so welcome and thanks for coming on once again.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so tell us about the business. It says West Side, and I'm sure everybody knows where the West Side is, but if you could describe where your business mostly lies, that'd be great.
Yeah, so my group, Brown Realty Group, we are with Keller Williams Realty West Side, and that's my area of focus is in Palms and the surrounding area. So that's between Culver City and Cheviot Hills.
Okay, very good. Now, specifically, some of the issues that you deal with in your neighborhood that people may not be aware of, you're fairly close to major city intersections down in the Palms area, so it's a high-density living. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what are some of the issues that you might deal with high density that people who are listening to the show would also appreciate?
Well, I think when I talk to the property owners, because we have a mix of single-family homes as well.
Right.
And the owners, they don't want to sell. They love their neighborhood. What about investing that equity, the equity that they have accumulated in their home, to leverage the property that they have to invest in our community and purchase a multifamily residential building, which is an income property.
Right.
So essentially, we have a really great opportunity for a lot of people that want to invest in LA, especially because our neighborhood is at the center of this growth of Google's moving in at
right.
West Side Pavilion. We have Culver City over there with Apple employees moving in. So this is a neighborhood that young professionals really enjoy, and it's walkable. And so when I talk about people is, the equity. If they have equity, it's a great time to put that money to work.
Now, are you saying equity in their home in your area, take that money out and buy something additionally in your neighborhood?
Yeah, or if they're in LA,
right.
If they're looking to have an income property, the equity that a lot of people have accumulated over the past few years, isn't really working for them if they're not able to use it. And, they want to stay in their home. There's lots of advantages to having passive income.
Right.
So, and rents, and actually the biggest demographic of renters that are growing are, according to California Association of Realtors, are people that make $150,000 or more a year.
Right.
So there's an opportunity out there for these rents that are increasing and these and the ability for people to invest their equity.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the availability of properties in your particular area now that we're talking about taking equity out, possibly putting it back into the neighborhood. What are some of the opportunities that you see?
Well, I see a lot of opportunities in the there are a lot of times where developers want to purchase a building and then tear it down and rebuild something else. But there's a lot of opportunities to invest in the existing infrastructure that we have. We have some great buildings that were built, in the 70s, 80s, that just need to be renovated a little bit, and so there's an opportunity there. So you don't have to go full on, developing and all that. I mean, I think when people think of buying a residential building, they think, oh no, it's going to be a process as far as tearing it down, all this, but you don't have to do that. We love the character of the neighborhood, and a lot of people would, I think, appreciate more the fact that we could renovate some of these buildings instead of just, tearing them down and building bigger buildings.
What do you like to do more? Do you like more of the interaction or the development part?
You know what? I like both. I like the fact that, I love hearing how people, their story, their situation, what it might be personally, and how we can get them from point A to point B. There's a lot of different aspects of the job that are very important, but the main focus that I have is focusing on the people and their needs and how we can get them from point A to point B.
How are you getting your investors, people that are interested in doing some of this, or because you've been doing it so long, they're coming to you?
Well, a little bit of both, but I'm an old-fashioned. I like to door knock, call people. So I farm, quote unquote, farm my neighborhood in respect to that. Especially, I like to get out and hear people in their conversations and what's going on. And I think that that's the best way when you meet somebody at their door and you have that intimate conversation about, their situation, and it's a nice feeling to be able to help them, if I can help them.
How are you combating the newer generation? And I don't even know how old you are. You could be the newer generation. What do I know? But there is such a move to doing everything through your phone or online and not necessarily face-to-face. I happen to agree with you about face-to-face. I think it's the only way to do real estate. But how do you draw in people who aren't necessarily of the same mindset?
Yeah, so I'm 32, so I guess I'm millennial generation. However, I think, so we have, our social media outreach, Clinton LA Home. Anybody can go there and see our team. In addition to that, I mean, I like to, whatever the client prefers for their communication. We try to do the best we can as far as the outreach, because I know that a lot of, like you said, it's more convenient. A lot of people to send a text and pick up the phone.
Right.
But I like both. I think that part of this job is the interaction with people and the trust that you build. So, yeah. So I think that we want to, because the real estate market is shifting, to more of that streamlined process.
Yes, it is.
And we want to stay ahead of the curve. And but I think that the one thing that can't replace is that relationship with the realtor that you build and that face-to-face communication. And I think I hope that'll always be an aspect of the job that will be there.
Well, in the lending world, I can tell you that the drive to technology is making the interaction between people who do the business and the customers less and less likely. And the reason for that is cost, right? I mean, if you're not making the money you were making 2 years ago, where can you learn to either cut costs or improve efficiencies? And either way, that eliminates people. And so I don't know if real estate itself can be bought and sold by that, but are you intimidated or scared by some of the discount realtors that are out there selling your services short?
No, I mean, I think the competition for the market's good. And, one thing about this job is that it changes, just like your, mortgage industry. There's lots of changes. And you have to, kind of roll with the changes, so to speak. And I think, whatever you can do to, implement these, if it's better for the consumer, then hey, I'm all for it. So
right.
We have to adapt to those, because it's consumer driven, and a lot of the times this is if they're not buying their first home or their second home, or that they're going to be investing in income properties. This is a big decision, and I think that I think a lot of people want that that reassurance, that face to face. Even though, a lot of stuff can be automated.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a blend there somewhere, and I don't know what that's going to cost or how much money you can make in the future, but I think exactly like you do, you cannot replace the people in the equation, but at the same time, there are efficiencies that can be better handled through technology.
Absolutely.
You know what? Our time's up. Clinton, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. And if anybody needs more information, it's Clinton LA Home, and I'd love to help anybody out there.
Yeah, shout out your phone number if you would, please.
Sure. It's 310-487-6453.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. 310-487-6453.
Clinton Brown, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, and I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. For more on today's topic, visit www.malibufunding.net.